Hey, we really appreciate y'all for tuning in. You already know what time it is.
Welcome to the podcast. We gon' keep on pounding, juke them out his cleats, boy, I'm too fast. Hit the field, no, we gon' spaz. CMC gon' run it back. Defense out here going crazy. Super Bowl, we want it bad. Pause up. It's only us at the top. It's time to rock, no, we won't stop. Open it up, I need that block. I got key with me, cold with me, hurts with me, kill with me. Big cat ain't going nowhere, you gotta deal with me. Carolina.
Welcome back, people. Welcome back. Let me stop. Welcome back to the Nine Lives Panthers podcast, where we never die. Pause up, you know what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all for rocking with me today. Today I want to get into this running back situation and what that's looking like. Some in-house options that we could explore, as well as some potential signings that we might explore in the near future, maybe in the distant future. We shall see. But before we get into all that, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and get into that comment section. Let me know what y'all think about this. Let's get it. So unless y'all been living under a rock, you heard about Christian. On Thursday, it looks like it was a pulled hamstring that happened in early second quarter to him. He never returned. Following Friday, they said he was going to be out for a few weeks. We shall see what a few weeks actually is. It was a few weeks with that ankle injury last year, and we know how long that took. So we don't really know. Like, I just say all that to say we don't really know how long Christian's going to be out, but as of right now, CMC is going to be out a few weeks. So there are things that need to be done in order to replace that spot and really replace the many things that he does. You know, 99% of the snaps, you know, we already know how he get out. So we got to have people in there to replace that. And no drop off, because we're a running team who also specializes in short pass. And with that, Christian was the perfect guy for that. Take Christian out of that, and there's really not a replacement there. And it's hard to replace a guy like him. Last year, we seen Mike Davis was able to do it to some extent, but that was more than anybody ever thought that Mike Davis could even produce. And it was awesome that he could do that. I don't think we have a Mike Davis this year. So we're going to have to move some guys around, try out a few guys, and we're going to get into that today. So first I want to get into who we currently have on the roster. Now, when CMC went down on Thursday, there was two guys to back him up. Those two guys were Chuba Hubbard and Royce Freeman. Now, let's get started with Chuba. Chuba was our 4th round pick this year. Really liked that pick when we got it, contrary to a lot of other people. Some people thought that, you know, Christian wasn't going to get off the field much, so what's the point? But I seen it from a perspective of this was a guy who didn't play outside of 2.5 games last year. So you get bringing a guy like Chuba in, you know, he might get some burn this year if Christian, once again, you know, suffers another injury, as we've seen has happened. So we got Chuba. This preseason, Chuba, he I was gonna try to keep it nice, but Chuba has left a lot to be desired. You know, he hasn't really broken any runs. He had that one breakaway run in the preseason, which was half decent, you know. But, you know, we're talking about 3rd and 4th stringers. We can't really say much off of that. And there was also multiple times in the preseason where he was dropping passes or his balance doesn't always look that great. He's young, though. You know, I'm not going to hold too much against him. We know he's young. We know he's got a lot to learn, and we know he has really good qualities. Now, up to this point this year, he has totaled in sparing time, outside of when Christian went down, he has totaled 19 carries for 62 yards and no touchdowns. Now, that averages out to about 3.3 yards a carry. Not going to get it done. Now, what I can say is when CMC went down, he did play a lot better, you know, through the rest of that Texans game. You know, overall that night, I think he finished for 11 carries for 52 yards, no touchdown. But still, solid plays. 4.7 yards a carry is what that is. So, you know, we're not going to be mad about that. Can you continue that without having those rookie slumps? That's what worries me. That's what makes me feel like at least one more guy has to be brought in to be able to, get this committee going. Because another really downside that we're about to get into to Chuba's play is drops. These drops is something that he suffered in the preseason, and now we're getting into the season, and he's still like really just not there as far as a pass catcher. We know we can't have that. Like, short pass is integral for this offense, and not even just the offense as a whole, but mainly the running back position. Christian caught a whole bunch of passes out of the backfield in his time, and it's not changing with this offense. This offense is built on that, so we're going to have to do better. Up till now, I think Chuba's 5 of 8 on catches, really not great, but not horrible, but not great. And we've also seen a few drops out of him that it's just not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. So that's pretty much Chuba for us. Let's move on to Royce Freeman. Now, Royce, I was liking this. I was liking this pickup. I really liked Royce coming out of Oregon when he was in the draft. I think that was about 4 years ago now. Really liked Royce, though. I loved his balance. I thought he was way ahead of a lot of guys who came out of that draft. He ends up going to Denver, plays his few years in Denver, and I guess coming up to, this cuts in training camp this year, he fell out of favor a little bit with those guys. He was waived. And then, Carolina picks him up. And, love that right before week 1, knowing that we needed some sort of a little bit more of a bruising back. I can't call Royce a true bruiser, but he is willing to stick his nose up in there. He gets it done. And I love that pick. I thought it was a great pickup by us. Of course, it was going to be cheap, so awesome. Let's do it. Why not? The first 2 weeks of the season, Royce didn't play at all. I was like, damn. But I mean, not for the most part. We know how CMC gets down, and we know how this coaching staff views CMC as an every down back, every play back, 99%. But he's not coming off the field. So it's not the most surprising that Royce didn't get a lot of burn in the first 2 weeks, but Royce didn't get a lot of burn in the first 2 weeks. Now, when CMC went down on Thursday, Royce did get some action. Overall, he had 5 carries, I think is what it was. 5 carries for 17 yards. Not anything spectacular, just a little over 3 yards a carry, which is not good. We're going to be clear, that's not good. But you also got to give him a little bit of an excuse. He didn't play the first 2 weeks at all. He got signed on right before week 1, so give him a little bit of time because he has produced. This is a guy who has averaged over 4 yards a carry for his career. So, and that's with, a hefty amount of carries. Even last year, he averaged 4.9 yards a carry. So this is a good pickup. This is a guy who can provide for us. Time will tell just how much he can provide for us. It's really up in the air, but this is a guy that I'm a fan of, as you can see. So, we like Royce. We liking Royce over here. I think Royce can be a good piece to this running back by committee. Now, there's another stat that I wanted to bring out. What was that? He was 70 for 84 in receptions. He's an underrated receiver. That's over 80%. 83%, I believe, is what that is for his career in reception. So this is a guy who can come in and catch passes. He hasn't done a whole lot for Carolina, but like I say, he hasn't played a whole lot. I'm really interested to see what he can do just catching passes out of the backfield because for his career, so you're talking about 70 of 84, that's good for your career. He's no Christian, he's no CMC, but that's still really good for your career, and I'm really excited to see what he can do from a pass catching standpoint because we're going to need that. All right, let's keep it moving, man. Let's keep it funky. So we do have some practice squad options that we could, explore to fill in that third running back spot on the active roster. One of these first guys is Spencer Brown, and he's an undrafted rookie out of UAB. Highly talented, a guy that I really like, but a very unproven guy nonetheless. So I'm not exactly sure if Carolina would be comfortable bumping him up to the active roster without seeing much. That would be something that would be more of a necessity if you felt like you needed to do that because of lack of options or anything. But I don't see this as a necessity. So I'm not exactly sure if, he would be a viable option to bump up to the active roster. He could be. It's something I would be happy to see, but I don't know how that goes. And I understand that, playing the risk, you might want to get a more proven guy in there. So I can understand that. Now, the second guy that we move on to is Rodney Smith, who's also on our practice squad, an undrafted guy from last year out of Minnesota. Now, the difference between Rodney Smith and Spencer Brown is Rodney Smith has a little bit of experience from last year. As we all know, Christian went down last year as well, and Mike Davis filled in for him primarily. But Rodney Smith was a guy who came in and, sparingly got a few snaps behind Mike Davis, and Mike Davis wasn't always healthy. He was banged up from time to time. So, Rodney Smith was able to come in and give a little bit of valuable carries. He came in, he did 41 carries for 156 yards and a touchdown. That's not the worst production. That's half decent production. Nothing to be crazy about. 3.8 yards per carry, so nothing major. But this is a guy who's played within. We can't discredit the fact that he's played within Joe Brady offense and played under Matt Rhule already. So this familiarity could get the man the job. He was a guy who was also like banged up for the most part in training camp, which is the reason why he's P-squadded right now, because he could honestly have been on the active roster already. So don't, sleep on Rodney Smith getting that bump. If they do go in-house, I believe that's going to be a guy like Rodney Smith. Now, a stat I also want to make note of is the fact that Rodney Smith was also 9 for 11 on his catches last year. That's 9 receptions on 11 targets. That's really good production. And you're talking about a hole, if you will, somewhat of a hole at least, of pass catching ability in the running back room on the active roster right now. A guy like Rodney Smith, you can insert in, and he immediately makes those guys better. So we'll have to wait and see, but he could easily be a guy that could replace this spot as well. Now, what makes me a little weary about these P-Squad guys getting that bump up to the active roster is the fact that less than 24 hours after CMC went down, Carolina worked out 4 running backs. That's right, 4 running backs, to come in and fill up a position. Now, you easily could have just bumped up one of these guys, whether it been Spencer Brown or Rodney Smith, but instead you go work out 4 guys, 2 of which who have valuable experience in this league. And then another guy who has, years in this league. He might not have much production, but he does have some time. So to bring in these guys when you already have, some in-house guys who know the system and all that, it just goes to show me that you don't believe much, in these guys, so they might just stay right where the hell they at, time will tell, see how all this look. Just because they worked out, 4 guys doesn't necessarily mean they like them either. But one of the first guys that they worked out was Duke Johnson. Now, I don't know if a lot of you guys know Duke Johnson, but he's a well-established guy in this league. He's about 27 years old now, coming off of a 2-year stint with Houston. Not a lot, going on there, but it was a running back by committee situation that he had. So it wasn't really many stats to be had by itself. I'll say that much. Now, prior to that, he played for some really bad Cleveland teams, but he was like really talented on those teams. One of those years, he almost had 700 receiving yards, and that's his calling card. The man gets it done as a pass catcher. Now, we are devoid, like I said earlier, we are devoid a little bit of pass catching on this active roster in this running back room. So there may, this guy might be the guy. He might just be the guy to come in and fill it. Now, how much he can do as a rusher, not so, I'm not sold on that. He never was much of a bell cow back or anything, but that's not what we need. We need a running back by committee. So I still believe he can be an above average pass catcher for this team. So I like Duke. Let's get into a little bit of what Duke did last year, just to give you a better idea of, how he's doing. So last year, Duke Johnson had 77 carries for 235 yards and a touchdown. Talking about 3.1 yards per carry. It's really nothing special at all. It's really nothing special. As far as pass catching goes, he was able to do 28 receptions on 35 targets, which is an 80% pass catching clip. Not bad at all, for another 249 yards. So that is what we would really be seeking if we were to get get a guy like Duke Johnson. Like I said, this is also a guy who did 700 yards, almost 700 yards in, as far as receiving in the league before. So really good pass catching ability. But let's move on. So the next guy we got is Ito Smith. Really not much, especially at this point in his career, not much of a pass catcher. Last year he did 65% as far as, pass catching ability. 17 for 26 is what it was. And that's not going to get it done. That's not going to make this coaching staff feel good about you. I can tell you that now. We want guys that are at least 80 or higher. 65 is not going to do it. But as a runner, Ito wasn't bad last year, 4.3 yards, per carry. That's not bad. And, he played with guys like Todd Gurley. So it was a running back by committee last year. So Ito is definitely a guy that we can look at, see, maybe possibly. He's not my favorite guy. He's an Atlanta guy, so whatever about that. But a viable option. And then the other guy we have is B.J. Emmons. This is an undrafted free agent guy from this year. I couldn't barely find anything on him. What I do know is he spent some time with Seattle, and then he went on to spend a little bit more time with Vegas. Neither one of those teams were really impressed. The Raiders, neither one of those teams were really impressed. So they moved on, and we gave him a workout. Unproven guy. I really don't see anything happening there unless he blew them away at the workout. I don't really see anything happening with B.J. Emmons. And the last guy is Dontrell Hilliard. Now, Dontrell Hilliard is a guy who also played for Cleveland. The last 3 years he played for Cleveland, really didn't give them much of anything. You got to think he was playing behind guys like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. There were no snaps to be had when you got running backs that good. So he had 22 carries for about 97 yards, which is 4.4 yards per carry but that's over his whole career, which is really not saying much. Another guy who would have had to really have a good workout in order to blow Carolina away and maybe get them on the active roster. Now, what I will say about those last two guys, which is less, likely than the first two guys, but still possible, Dontrell Hilliard and B.J. Emmons could be viable candidates for the practice squad if Spencer Brown or Rodney Smith would be bumped up, just to keep that practice depth there, just to make sure you still got 4 guys. Well, I mean, actually it would be 5 guys, but you make sure that you still got a stable of guys who can, provide not only just active roster depth, but depth for practice as well. And I can't say depth right, depth. Whatever, man. So yeah, so those are the 4 guys that we got, and I'm not the craziest about those guys. I'd rather we keep it in-house, to be honest, But those are, 4 potential guys that the Carolina Panthers are looking at to try to replace what CMC has, done. So I appreciate y'all for rocking with me today. Once again, I'm Kill. I appreciate y'all. 9 Lives Panthers podcast. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you check out my boys and check out the videos that they got going on. We're going to be doing some live streams. It's going to be real nice, man. We're going to do it big over here. So one more time, pause up. 9 Lives podcast, where we never die. Hey, man, y'all take it easy, man.
Hey, we really appreciate y'all for tuning in. You already know what time it is.
9 Lives. Welcome to the podcast. We gon' keep on pounding, juke them out his cleats, boy, I'm too fast. Hit the field, know we gon' spaz. CMC gon' run it back. Defense out here going crazy. Super Bowl, we want it bad. Pause up. It's only us at the top. It's time to rock, no, we won't stop. Open it up, I need that block. I got key with me, cold with me, hurts with me, kill with me. Big cat ain't going nowhere, you gotta deal with me. Carolina.